Okay, so get ready to dive into the world of Chinese politics. Today, we're looking at some recent shakeups in Beijing. Think high-level officials being moved around like chess pieces.
hmm
We're talking about Xi Jinping, the most powerful leader China's seen in decades, and those whispers of discontent brewing beneath the surface. You've been following these developments closely.
I
What's
am.
the real story here?
Well, it's really important to remember that Xi Jinping has spent the past decade consolidating his power,
Hmm.
building this image of strength and control.
Right.
So these recent events, these high-ranking officials suddenly being moved or investigated, they're definitely raising eyebrows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it suggests a potential shift, a crack in the facade, if you will.
Okay.
To really understand the significance, we need to look at the broader context.
Okay, let's unpack that context a bit.
Yeah.
China's facing some serious challenges right now. A slowing economy, tensions with the West, the long tail of those strict COVID-19 measures. Are these pressures creating cracks in Xi's control?
Absolutely, yeah. These challenges create a breeding ground for dissent, even within the Communist Party.
Right.
Xi's policies, while aimed at national rejuvenation, haven't been universally popular.
Right.
There are whispers of discontent from those who feel his policies have hurt their interests, particularly within the business sector.
Hmm.
Remember, the party's legitimacy has long been tied to economic growth.
Right.
When that growth falters, it can create fertile ground for opposition to take root.
So we've got this backdrop of mounting pressure, and then boom, we see this almost orchestrated shuffling of Xi's inner circle.
Yeah.
Our sources point to a period between late September and early October 2024 when at least 3 of his close allies were either removed from key positions or suddenly found themselves under investigation. What's the significance of this timing?
Well, the timing is so intriguing, especially when you consider what else happened in late September. On the 30th, China commemorated the 75th anniversary of communist rule, a highly symbolic event. And during that event, 2 former leaders, Wen Jiabao and Li Ruhuan, were positioned very deliberately alongside Xi Jinping. Analysts are reading into this like a Shakespearean play, trying to decipher the hidden messages.
It gets even more interesting when you consider what she said at that event, right? Our source from the Epoch Times points out that he explicitly thanked old generation leaders in his speech. This struck a lot of observers as significant, especially since he hasn't done that so directly since 2014. Remind us what was happening back in 2014 and why are analysts drawing this parallel?
Right, so 2014 was a pivotal year for Xi. He was still consolidating his grip on power and facing resistance from factions loyal to former leader Jiang Zemin.
Okay.
To strengthen his position, Xi leaned heavily on the support of party elders, influential figures from previous administrations.
Right.
They helped him purge rivals and solidify his authority. So when he publicly thanks old generation leaders now, it inevitably raises the question, is he drawing on that same playbook again?
So is this a sign that Xi is feeling the heat?
That's a good question.
Is he making concessions to maintain stability?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? There are a few ways to interpret this.
Right.
Some analysts believe Xi is trying to project an image of unity, of a party that respects its elders and values their counsel.
Okay.
By bringing these figures back into the fold, he could be trying to appease those within the party who might be questioning his leadership.
Right.
Think of it as a way of saying, don't worry, I've got this and the elders have my back.
It's a fascinating power play for sure. But is it a sign of strength or a sign of weakness? Is he consolidating power or clinging to it? Let's get into the specifics of these personnel changes. Who exactly are we talking about? And why are their departures so noteworthy? It's like a high-stakes game of chess where each move, has these ripple effects we might not even fully grasp. And speaking of strategic moves, there's another case that has everyone talking Cao Xinchen.
Yeah, Cao Xinchen.
Our sources say he came under investigation for corruption at the end of September.
Right.
At the time, he was a high-ranking official at China Unicom, the state-owned telecom giant. Why is this particular investigation so significant?
Well, you have to understand, China Unicom has a history with Xi's anti-corruption campaign.
Okay.
It's been seen as this breeding ground for shady dealings with ties to some of Xi's political rivals, specifically those with links to former leader Jiang Zemin.
So it's not just about Kaohsiung's, and it's about the company he represents and its connections to potential rivals.
Exactly. And what makes Cao's case even more intriguing is his career trajectory.
Okay.
He had only been transferred to China Unicom in early 2023.
Hmm.
Before that, he held a very sensitive position within the Communist Party itself.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. What was his previous role?
He was the deputy director of the organization department's cadre division. Now, this division is incredibly powerful. Think of it as the HR department for the most exclusive club in China.
So he was in charge of personnel decisions for the Communist Party. That's a lot of power.
Exactly. They decide who gets promoted, who gets sidelined, who gets what position and when. Cao Jinping was at the heart of that system. And then suddenly he's transferred to a company with a history of corruption and links to Xi's rivals. It's hard not to see that as a deliberate move.
Yeah, it's almost like he was set up or at least placed in a very precarious position.
Some analysts see it as a clear warning shot from Xi Jinping, a way to keep potential rivals on their toes. It's a reminder that no one, even within the upper echelons of the party, is truly safe if they step out of line.
So we've got this potential power struggle brewing, rivals circling, and now whispers about Xi Jinping's health are starting to resurface. What do we know about that, and how is it playing into these power dynamics?
Right. The rumors about Xi's health have been circulating for some time now, going back to the 20th Party Congress in July 2023.
Okay.
There were whispers of a possible stroke or other health issues.
Right.
Whether those rumors are true or not is almost beside the point. What matters is the perception.
So even the perception of weakness can embolden rivals.
Absolutely.
Mm.
If Xi Jinping is seen as vulnerable, it creates an opportunity for others to make a play for power. The timing of these events, the personnel changes, the rumors, it all adds to a sense of uncertainty and heightened stakes.
Yeah, you can almost feel the tension building, can't you? Like everyone's holding their breath, waiting to see what happens next.
Exactly. It's creating a climate of anxiety, not just within the party, but also among those who watch China closely. Businesses, foreign governments, analysts. The stability that Xi Jinping has worked so hard to project is starting to show signs of strain.
And with that instability comes a whole host of questions about the future. So where do we go from here? What happens next? What are the potential implications of all this, maneuvering? And what does it signal about where China might be headed?
Well, if we connect these events to the bigger picture, it suggests that China could be on the verge of a period of, significant political change and uncertainty. For the past decade, Xi Jinping has been the undisputed leader, the man in control. But these recent events, these whispers of dissent and shifting alliances, suggest there might be cracks in that facade of control.
Are we talking about a potential power struggle within the Communist Party?
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. Remember, the party itself is facing challenges on multiple fronts. Internal dissent, economic headwinds, increasing pressure from the international community. How they navigate these turbulent waters will determine their future and Xi Jinping's legacy.
It's almost like a perfect storm brewing, right? You have these internal pressures, economic uncertainty, and then these very public displays of potential instability within the leadership. It makes you wonder, can any single leader, even someone as powerful as Xi Jinping, truly control a system as vast and complex as China?
That's the question many are asking. The image of a unified, monolithic China has always been a bit of an illusion.
Right.
The reality is far more nuanced, with these competing factions, power struggles, shifting alliances. Xi Jinping has been a master at navigating the system, but these recent events suggest that even he may be facing limitations.
So where does that leave us? It feels like we're standing on the precipice of something significant, but we can't quite see what the future holds.
We may not have a crystal ball, but what we do know is that the stakes are incredibly high. The decisions made in the coming months, both by Xi Jinping and those around him, will have far-reaching implications for China and the rest of the world. It's a situation that demands our attention, our analysis, and our careful consideration of the potential consequences.
Wow, it's certainly been a crash course in Chinese politics today, from power plays and purges to whispers of dissent and uncertainty. One thing's for sure. Keeping up with China is like trying to read a constantly shifting map. You can never quite be sure where the path will lead next, but you can bet it'll be fascinating to watch.
Well said.
Until next time, keep exploring.